The story kicks off with a guy named Victor driving his car, heading to a destination. Victor isn't just any regular guy. He's a top-tier hitman. In fact, he's so elite that he only works for the biggest players in the game and charges an arm and a leg for his services. This time, Victor is on his way to meet the top Mafia boss in Mexico. The boss, Javier, has a job for him. When Victor gets there, he meets Javier, the kingpin himself. Javier wastes no time and lays out the mission. He wants Victor to take out his business rival within a week, promising a payment of $1 million. Victor, unimpressed, flat out declines. Why? Because his usual rate for a job like this is a hefty $3 million. Victor also drops a bombshell, revealing that Javier's rival had already approached him with an offer to double that amount to take out Javier instead. But Victor, being the professional that he is, turned it down because Javier reached out to him first. Victor then tells Javier to get his guys to lower their weapons, as it's a sign of disrespect to point them at him. When they don't listen, Victor casually takes them out, showing just how lethal he can be. Surprisingly, Javier isn't too bothered by the loss of his men and agrees to pay Victor $3 million if he can complete the job in 3 days. Victor, however, ups his price to $3.5 million to make up for the disrespect he endured. Javier agrees, and Victor leaves the headquarters. Meanwhile, in a chilling twist, we see that Javier is involved in human trafficking. Locked in a room at his base are several women he has kidnapped, waiting to be sold off. One of them, Sarai, is desperate to escape. Spotting Victor as her potential ticket to freedom, she seizes her chance. As Victor is about to leave, Sarai sneaks into his car and holds him at gunpoint, demanding he take her away from the base. During their tense drive, Sarai explains her story. She was kidnapped by Javier when she was just 15 and has been forced to live as his slave ever since. She also warns Victor that Javier has no intention of paying him after the mission and is planning to kill him instead. Sarai's revelation doesn't sit well with Victor, and when she lets her guard down, he knocks her out cold. Back at Javier's headquarters, his younger sister, Isel, discovers Sarai is missing. Suspecting she's escaped in Victor's car, Isel gathers a group of armed men to track them down. The next morning, Sarai wakes up to find herself tied up in the bathroom of a motel. Victor, who is keeping her under watch, unties her and orders her to stay put. Just then, Isel and Javier's men show up, demanding Sarai's return. Victor keeps his cool, telling Isel to sit down and talk things out like adults. But when she refuses and insists on taking Sarai back, Victor snaps. He eliminates all of Javier's men on the spot, furious that they showed up armed. He then declares his contract with Javier officially terminated. Despite Isel's attempts to negotiate, including offering Victor other women in exchange for Sarai, he remains unfazed. Her mention of Sarai being Javier's favorite slave doesn't help her case. Annoyed by her disrespect, Victor shoots Isel in the leg and sends her limping back to her brother. Back at Javier's base, Isel recounts the humiliating encounter. Furious, Javier comes up with a plan to lure Victor and Sarai out by torturing one of Sarai's close friends, who is still under his control. Meanwhile, Victor and Sarai stop at a small diner for a meal. While chatting, Victor curiously asks why Javier is so obsessed with her. Sarai explains it's because of her striking beauty. Excusing herself to use the restroom, Sarai steps away, but trouble quickly follows. Two thugs enter the diner, clearly sent to capture her. Before they can make a move, Victor swiftly deals with them, leaving their lifeless bodies on the floor. Feeling bad for the shop owner who witnessed the chaos, Victor hands over his fancy sports car as compensation and leaves. Later that night, Victor and Sarai find refuge in his luxurious villa. As Victor checks his laptop, a chilling video message from Javier pops up. In it, Javier is seen torturing one of Sarai's closest friends. Initially, Victor doesn't want Sarai to see it, but she insists. Overcome with guilt and fear for her friend, Sarai pleads with Victor to take her back to Javier to save her friend's life. Victor agrees to a deal with Javier. Sarai in exchange for 2 other slaves, including her tortured friend. The next day, before heading out for the exchange, Victor brings Sarai to meet his trusted ally, Nicholas, another hitman. The two have worked together on countless missions, and Victor asks Nicholas to back him up. At the meeting spot, Javier is noticeably absent, sending Isel instead to handle the exchange. This move further irritates Victor, who views it as another act of disrespect. As the trade is about to take place, Victor suddenly changes his mind and refuses to hand over Sarai. Chaos erupts as Victor and Nicholas eliminate Javier's men. In the crossfire, Isel, still alive, manages to shoot and wound Sarai's friend before Victor finishes her off for good. With the threat neutralized, Victor instructs Nicholas to safely return Sarai's surviving friend to her family. Victor and Sarai's journey takes another twist when they decide to head to Romania, hoping to stay under the radar and away from Javier's relentless pursuit. Javier, furious over his sister Isel's gruesome death, swears to track them down no matter where they hide. Once in Romania, Victor and Sarai are greeted by a woman named Samantha, one of Victor's longtime allies and a trusted friend. Samantha takes them to her home, offering them a safe haven. Knowing the danger Javier poses, Victor gives Sarai a gun for self-defense and insists she stay with Samantha while he plans to return to Mexico. Victor's goal? To wipe out Javier and his entire operation before they strike again. However, things take an unexpected turn when Victor, about to board his flight at the airport, receives intel that Javier's crew has already arrived in Romania. Realizing the imminent threat, he scraps his plan to leave and hurries back to Samantha's house. Meanwhile, Sarai, trying to make sense of everything, chats with Samantha and learns more about Victor and his closest ally, Nicholas. Samantha reveals that both men were orphans raised by a priest who, ironically, was also the head of a secretive assassin network. It's no surprise they turned into top-tier hitmen, feared even among their peers. Their conversation is cut short by a knock at the door. Samantha's instincts kick in, and she quickly hides Sarai in a secret room. The visitors? None other than Javier's men. They waste no time, bursting in and shooting Samantha in the shoulder while demanding Sarai's whereabouts. Samantha, tough as nails, lies and claims Sarai left with Victor earlier that morning. Javier, skeptical and ruthless, tortures Samantha to extract the truth, eventually shooting her again. Watching the horrifying scene unfold on a monitor in the hidden room, Sarai is torn. Should she stay hidden or turn herself in to stop Samantha's suffering? Her guilt wins out, and just as she steps out to surrender, Victor bursts into the scene. Wasting no time, he takes down Javier's men one by one in a brutal and efficient manner. As the dust settles, a gunshot echoes through the house. Sarai has killed Javier with the very gun Victor gave her. Tragically, Samantha doesn't survive the ordeal. After dealing with Javier's men, Victor and Sarai travel to a church where Nicholas is waiting. The church holds a special significance. It's where Victor and Nicholas grew up under the priest's care. But the reunion isn't a happy one. Victor accuses Nicholas of betrayal, suspecting he had a hand in leaking their location to Javier. Nicholas denies it, swearing on their shared history. As tempers flare, Victor nearly pulls the trigger on his old friend, but Sarai intervenes. That's when Victor discovers the truth. Hidden at the nape of Sarai's neck is a tracking chip, planted without her knowledge. Realizing his mistake, Victor apologizes to Nicholas, and the trio attempts to move forward. Later that night, Victor has a heart-to-heart with Sarai. He offers her money, a new identity, and a chance to start fresh, far away from the dangerous life he leads. Sarai, however, has other plans. With no family or place to call home, she tells Victor she wants to stay with him, even if it means diving into the world of contract killing. Seeing her determination, Victor agrees and begins training Sarai to become a hitwoman. Months pass, and Sarai proves to be a quick learner. She's no longer the terrified girl from Javier's clutches. She's now a skilled assassin, ready to take on missions alongside Victor. Their latest job takes them to Dubai, where a notorious Mafia boss named Arthur awaits. Arthur, known for his shady dealings in adult films across several countries, is their target. Disguised as party guests, Victor and Sarai infiltrate one of Arthur's lavish gatherings. Arthur, intrigued by their looks and charm, invites them for a private meeting. In the privacy of Arthur's quarters, Victor finds an opportunity to confront him. Arthur steps out briefly, giving Victor the chance to uncover the details of their mission. The target isn't Arthur himself, but his wife, who had secretly hired Victor and Sarai. Arthur's wife, bedridden with a chronic illness, had a twisted request. She wanted them to kill her in front of Arthur to make him suffer. The envelope Victor discovers also contains damning evidence of Arthur's crimes, ensuring his downfall if he doesn't shut down his illegal operations. With the Dubai mission behind them, Victor and Sarai retreat to Spain, enjoying some downtime and growing closer. Their bond deepens, but the peaceful days are short-lived. One morning, Victor gets a call from Nicholas about a new client. Deciding not to disturb Sarai, who's fast asleep, he heads out alone. Meanwhile, an unexpected visitor arrives at their home, Nicholas, and he's not there for a friendly chat. Feeling sidelined by Victor ever since Sarai entered the picture, Nicholas has decided to eliminate her. As Nicholas raises his gun, Victor returns just in time. A tense fight breaks out between the two old friends. Victor manages to overpower Nicholas and considers killing him, but hesitates when Sarai pleads for mercy. Victor ultimately lets Nicholas go, but their friendship is clearly shattered. In the scuffle, Sarai is accidentally hit by a stray bullet. Desperate to save her, Victor rushes her to the hospital. 5 days later, Sarai wakes up to find Victor at her bedside. Despite his relief at her recovery, Victor makes a difficult decision. For her safety, he tells her they can no longer be together. As much as he loves her, his dangerous lifestyle will always put her in harm's way. Heartbroken, Sarai understands and the two part ways. Fast forward 2 years, and Sarai has fully embraced her new life as a professional assassin. During a mission to eliminate a high-profile target, she crosses paths with none other than Victor. It turns out they've been hired by the same client. Their reunion is bittersweet, a reminder of their shared past and the lives they've chosen. And just like that, the story ends, leaving the audience wondering what's next for Victor and Sarai. If you enjoyed this breakdown, don't forget to smash the like button. If not, hit the dislike button twice, we can handle it. Better yet, watch the full movie for all the action-packed drama. Thanks for tuning in,